We're rolling.
Hello and welcome to the Record Players Podcast, objectively the best opinion in music. So today I'm Hattie, and again I'm joined by Jack and Dennis. So today we're doing another review crew episode. This episode we're reviewing the newest St. Vincent record, Daddy's Home, that's just come out. So if you like what we're saying, or if you've got a different opinion, remember to like, subscribe, make sure to leave a comment and tell us what you think of the album. But yeah, let's do it.
Damn. I was like, he's brought the production value up here, but no.
What?
God damn.
What? How dare you? Okay. Australia's worse off on the world stage by the fact this guy is on the Spotify charts, I tell you. It was going so well. I had such high hopes for you.
I'm gonna pass over to Dennis. You're an engineer.
I felt the spirit. I wouldn't be surprised if I got this off someone off the street selling the CD for like £5. How do I stop it?
This is crazy. All right, so St. Vincent, let's get into it. So for the viewers and listeners, I'll give a little bit of a background. So St. Vincent, if you don't know, is a singer, songwriter, guitarist, originally based in Texas or from Texas. Real name Annie Clark. She goes by the moniker St. Vincent with her touring band. Born in 1982. And I believe this is her 6th studio album. So she's been quite prolific over the past, I think it's about 13, 14 years. So this was my personal choice for what we're going to review this week. I've been a fan of her for a long time. Just throwing it out to you guys quick. Much listening to her past work?
No, unfortunately not.
Nothing for you.
I feel like I lost out now.
Okay.
I've listened
that's a sneak preview.
What you've told me to listen to previously. You've given me a recommendation before. And
remind me, was it a positive?
Not. It's very similar to my feelings about this album. To be fair, okay. I can't remember which one it was that I listened to, but it was a few years ago. So maybe self-titled or Mass Education would have been about the time frame, maybe. But yeah,
right. One of the newer albums.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's jump into it straight there. Dennis, you said that you feel like you've been missing out. So I get the sense that this album did some good things for you. How did you feel?
Yeah. No, absolutely. I was completely blown away by the album. I didn't know what to expect, but I found that there was a large variety of different genres, and it kind of speaks to St. Vincent herself. What are you saying her name was? Annie Clark, was it?
Annie Clark, yeah.
As a person, I did a little bit of research into her, and she sort of identifies as not being any sexuality, not being any particular gender. And I think that sort of same thing comes through with her music. Her music it doesn't sound like any one thing. It can't really be put in a box, which to me was like the biggest draw.
No, I feel yeah. There were so many different, I guess, genre incorporations, artist influences that I can go into it in a minute. But yeah. Jack, what about you? What was your initial impressions?
Yeah, I mean, kind of on the same lines as Dennis. You can hear a bit of Beatles. You can hear some Prince. You can hear some Janelle Monáe. Like, there's loads of stuff you could pull out of it. I think that my actual first listen initial impressions were a little underwhelming. I think that I've read so many things about it being like such an eclectic style that she has with music, and like obviously me and you have spoken before with you singing her praises, so maybe that had like less of an impact by the time I actually got around to listening to this stuff. But yeah, it was the more I listened to it, the better I feel about it. But it was definitely initially I was kind of like, yeah, all right. was very middle of the road.
Backpack then.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, call it.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's really interesting. I mean, so my I guess going into it, like I said, with more of a back or more of a history listening to her, I wasn't actually expecting, I don't know, anything amazing, just because I haven't necessarily liked her most recent albums, like the most recent two. I've liked them, but I thought her earlier work was much better. Her earlier stuff felt a bit more like natural and, I don't know, harmonically complex to me. But this kind of pulled things back into how her older work, like if you guys kind of research like her older music, it kind of feels a lot like her first two albums, which I fucking love. But this album was like so 70s in all the good ways that my thoughts of the Greta Van Fleet album wasn't. I just loved how she incorporated, I know you mentioned it, Dennis, but so many different genres. I heard like, funk, soul, psychedelic music, like you mentioned, with like Beatlesy, folksy music. But it replicated a sound without being derivative. At least I thought, and yeah, the range of artists I heard was similar. Like I said, Prince, Floyd. There was that one track, "Living in the Dream," that was straight Pink Floyd. Bowie, Joni Mitchell, all artists that I fuck with a lot. So it was great to hear that in a modern context. I thought I was really impressed. But maybe I'd be a little bit biased.
One track that blew my mind was "Down." You mentioned elements.
That was my
funk.
favorite.
Like there was a funky sitar in there, which is like, what the hell?
Well, the sitar was on most tracks. Yeah. It was a weird inclusion.
There's like I've called it a feature instrument, because there's a few instruments that keep coming back, like in that same sort of way. Like she obviously has like larger string arrangements in some tracks, but sometimes it's literally like just used for a swell at the end of a chorus to go into a verse, or like vice versa, going into something like chorus. But there's loads and loads of times there's an instrument that just is popping up here and there just for like flavor, and like that's one thing that I think is actually really, really good about this album, is just you can tell how musically grown up she is, because she's not pushed any elements too far. She's finding something that fits the niche of what that song needs at the time, and then making like an informed musical choice to deliver that. So even though I won't end up singing overall praises for the whole thing, that like you can tell how like she's obviously a fantastic musician, and it comes through.
Absolutely.
Yes, I guess I can see what you're saying. For you, it's one of those things where you can objectively say those were good choices. I appreciated what she did, but it might not tick your boxes of personal enjoyment.
It's how I see a lot of reviews about my boy Jacob Collier, where people are like, he's too clever to make music, because they're like, it's just I'm just listening to like a sound experiment wrapped up in like pretending to be a pop song. But like I don't get that at all. I really enjoy it. But like now I can see exactly the same thing, because I'm like, I can see how like she's grown up listening to all the bands that we've been mentioning. No doubt she's got massive influence from them. But to bring that all together into something that's convincing and has her own voice, I know cognitively, like on an objective level, that she has to be a talented musician in order to do that successfully. But it didn't always resonate with me across the album. Although I will agree, "Down" is a fantastic track. That's one of my top 3. So I like that off the bat.
I was going to say that was probably the. You can't not love that song, man. You're soulless if that song doesn't groove with you. I thought that was probably the peak of the album. Going to be a shared one amongst our lists. I mean, I was gonna I wrote it down to mention, but the sitar was interesting. It's not necessarily like a sound I necessarily like, but I thought it had the effect of the album was replicating an era. It feels like, a 70s style, but including something like that as like an off-kilter instrument kind of puts a twist on it, like an unusual, unexpected twist to keep it a bit fresh. I mean, I know you can think of sitar and think, like George Harrison, for instance, but to use it this often, it's like a, like you said, it's like a sonic signature that differs it from the original music that it kind of tries to recreate. At least that's what I got.
Absolutely. I think there's definitely a certain polish. There's like a high level like polish to the album. It's kind of like, I don't know, the analogy I would use is sort of like high literature. You know, like there's normal stuff that you'd get in W.H. Smith's or just any or Waterstones or whatever, just normal bestseller books, and then there's, you know, like high literature,
you pull on a fake bookshelf, and then the real bookstore opens. You go down some steps. There's a guy in a robe that greets you.
Yeah, like that Leaves song. Sorry, not Leaves song. House of Leaves. That's considered like high literature. Comment in the add in the comments if you know what I'm talking about. But that's
I got no clue.
Yeah. Well, it was kind of like
I'm not in those secret societies. That's why.
Yeah, exactly. You don't know the secret handshakes. Yeah. It's kind of like this crazy book where I think it's like a horror book. I haven't actually read it myself, but I've heard a lot about it. That it's like disorienting. It's not in a linear fashion. Like the story is told like in the margins, and there's all these like footnotes and stuff. So it's like an experience in and of itself. But it's like Jack was saying. It's that like out there, like almost. It's like someone who's fresh out of a PhD in literature writing a book. It's so far out there that it's not so accessible. I guess you could say with Jacob Collier and that. But
would you relate that to this and her style? Because I would argue that.
No.
Because for me, I mean, I know. I guess another bit of background. I know she actually studied at Berkeley, so obviously she's got the chops. Your musical knowledge must be up the chain. But I find that the songs she crafts always feel natural, and even you mentioned something about it being. You didn't say overproduced, but you said something like to the words of like meticulously crafted. And I find there definitely feels like there's attention to detail on everything. But one of the things I love so much is her lack of reluctance to display like a raw vocal performance. You know, the imperfections in her voice is present. There's no like kind of digital enhancement of her voice unless it's like for a weird effect.
Yeah.
And even with the background singers, so the backing singers that were prominent, and was another one of my key things, it all kind of feels like a raw first take performance. You know, even if that wasn't the case, I got that impression, which added to the value of the album.
Yeah, I think track 1 has some distortion in there. But yeah, I think you're right. On the whole, there's not so much auto-tune. It doesn't sound too overproduced, which can be annoying. If you listen to like a Justin Bieber album, it can get grating.
Well, even coming off J. Cole last week, the fact that you could hear like human voices across an entire album without the like super auto-tuney robotic stuff going on, or just really weird phasing and like unnecessary effects on vocals. It was nice. And it's nice as well. Like that was
it was refreshing to hear.
Besides tracks being in the pocket a lot in terms of like the grooves that she's making, her use of background vocals was probably the biggest link that I could find to Prince tracks, which like Prince has always is another person who has like meticulously crafted songs. Like there's nothing in a Prince song that seems out of place, even on super weird stuff like in 3121 when he's doing all these weird sort of sounds. You know that it's something that he's 100% believed in, and that he's whittled it down to the perfect choice for him. But yeah, his use of backing vocals is always like that, just for like bit of emphasis, different timbres with different different voices, like tenor, bass, alto, all that sort of stuff. Exactly the same usage here, and it's a really strong feature as well. I'm like giving you guys lots and lots of positives to go through, so when I drop bombshells later on, I've buttered you up a little bit.
Let's get into that, because I like I said, besides, there was a couple of tracks where I thought maybe the quality dipped a little bit, maybe around the midsection. But aside from that, I couldn't really find a flaw or anything that I didn't like. So what did put you off, Jack, or stop this album from being great for you?
I'm super curious, because every time I listened to this album, I found a different song that I could fall in love with.
It's growing on me the more I listen to it, but being as many listens in as I am now and not being convinced by it is like a bit of a red flag for me. Like I'm on my way there, but I think what I'll end up with is a collection of songs that I like from this album rather than this growing into an album that I like. So like I think that there's standout moments in a lot of tracks, but I would say that there's probably a good track, a good song, about one every three for this album. The humming interludes as well did nothing for me. I don't know why they're
Not
included.
much there, really, is there?
Yeah, I don't like it's. It
I
seems like a
think I
very
saw an
artistic
interview, she said
choice, very personal thing. But like as a listener, in an abstract way from whatever intention there was, not didn't come across.
I think she said in an interview, I think something I saw where they were just functioning as like palette cleansers, like transitional things, as opposed to them having any kind of deep meaning.
Yeah,
but,
I can see that,
to
but
each their own on that.
I've never been a fan of just putting something in the album to be like a block between. I feel like there's if you need to do that and you're not making a concept album where it takes place over like different scenes, then I'm going back to Old Faithful of there's a different order for your album or a different way to deal with outros and intros where you don't need to do that.
Yeah, I agree. They could have been left off. They didn't really do much for me, but they didn't necessarily like detract. They were just there.
I am kind of curious. So for me, like from the first listen, this was like mind blowing to me. But that could be because I hadn't heard of St. Vincent before, and I'm not so familiar with her style or her first sort of albums. And Hattie, you said this sort of goes like it sort of it's her going back to that sound of her first albums. So, Jack, how do you think this compares to other albums that you've heard, and have you liked her other albums, and how does it compare to them?
Not loads, to be fair. It's always been one where like I can draw a lot of positives from it, but it's never immediately clicked with me because this has been me and Hattie's debate with it over the years. Like just with her as an artist.
Okay, so you could pick. It's the same story as if we were reviewing any of her other albums, you would say the same sort of thing, that you could pick out
probably 1
out of 3 songs.
Yeah, which is so weird because like
I guess there's just
all the elements that she's putting together. I love like all the bands that we mentioned from the start. I don't want to keep retreading ground, but like I'm a fan of all those bands. I'm a massive fan of Prince, Janelle Monáe as well. I'm getting massive like vibes of her from this album, but like it just doesn't come together.
Did it not feel genuine to you? Like how I got from the like I said, the Greta.
I don't know, maybe I got the kind of vibe of like New York chic, New York indie. That was like the kind of overall essence of the album that I got. I don't know how that like sits with within her talking about something like genres or styles, but whatever. I think that and it seemed like a genuine artist projection, but it's not something that resonates with me. So like maybe that was the disconnect. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes if it doesn't click for you, despite the fact it should do on paper, it doesn't click. I've been there, so
I would say, do you guys know if? Because to me, like I got a bit of like a story of kind of from the album art as well, but it's almost like a trophy wife's story. Like the beginning sounds like her going out. She's got the night after. The husband is back home. They have a bit of like a falling out in the middle, and like they're a bit sarky to each other. And then by the end, like they're back together, but it's not like completely resolved. It's not like a perfect happy ever after sound. It's just like a they're back together thing.
Well, I didn't quite get that because I didn't sit down with the lyric sheet, but I I did when I was on Wikipedia stumble across the story of where the title comes from, Daddy's Home. So her
Yeah.
dad was arrested in 2010 for doing some shady stuff with stocks. I think it was like
Mm.
insider trading or something to do with wire fraud, something like that. And he got 15 years. So he's about to come out. So she's released this album.
I think he already has, because I did some
Really?
research as well. So I think he's just come out, but I think he was in prison for like 10 years of that sentence. He's just come out. I mean, there is the title track song where she's referencing going to visit him, and being like a successful, artist, or not as successful as she is now, but in the early stages of her career, but it being like just a weird, like surreal thing. So that's the main thematic thing. But I know what you're saying, Jack. There is a few like kind of, I don't know, I guess almost like sarcastic housewife type story. I think it was on the track "My Baby Wants a Baby." I'd have to go back to it,
Yeah.
but it definitely had those themes. I don't,
And
I don't get the sense the whole album focused on that.
The Laughing Man as well is quite like, and there's also she does something that I actually really love. So the down and out and downtown follows Pay Your Way in Pain, and there's a I can't remember them all off the top of my head, but there's a line in there that references having to pay your dues in some way. And then in Daddy's Home there's a reference about, I think it's right at the start, about the heels that she speaks about in Down and Out in Downtown when she's coming home after the night out. And then like maybe in Down or Somebody Like Me, she talks about the Laughing Man but just rephrases it, and it's like always making a callback to like songs that happened earlier in the album. I fucking love it when artists do that. That to me shows that you've put time and thought into your work as a like complete package, rather than just writing songs and chucking them together.
Yeah, you haven't just chucked tracks together.
Yeah.
I didn't even notice that. That would be something I'm going to have to re-listen and listen out for.
Yeah, another reason to go through another lesson.
Again, dude, when you break this down analytically, you just keep singing its phrases, which is what is boggling my mind. I get it. There's the subjective and objective, but I'm sitting here just like, come on, motherfucker, make it click.
But it's like, it's like classical music and me, because I know that classical music is objectively fantastic, and I know why it's fantastic, and I can imitate the things that make it fantastic and write my own stuff that's like that, but it's never going to resonate with me the way that modern music does. And like even like Baroque music, I prefer to classical, and then romantic music I prefer to Baroque music. So like, even though I can see how they're all valuable, and I know Mozart is a fantastic composer, I fucking hate listening to Mozart stuff. It's so dry.
Yeah.
But like, he's so clever in what he did, and like he was the first guy to do it, and it's amazing. But like, yeah, it's that objective subjective, like you're saying.
You're not going to bump Midnight Sonata and vibe to it in the car, like, yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's
Midnight Sonata's a banger.
Yeah, I've tried to learn it a couple of times, but you just got like, you could just come back to Vivaldi, man. Like if you have to do something like that, get some Vivaldi in you. If you want some like pure emotional stuff, get some Chopin out. Get your
Chopin
Debussy's.
for real.
Vivaldi, I recommend.
I feel like movies and TV shows have ruined Vivaldi because they've just played him to death. Like, you listen to a Vivaldi like composition.
He's a bit like the Dragon Force of his time.
but now that's like Paganini, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I think Paganini might be the Jason Becker.
That fifth Caprice.
Or Rachmaninoff, who had hands so big he composed pieces that no one else could play, just because he had like mammoth hands. So that's a flex. That's a pianist flex right there.
Well, actually, I'm glad we brought up the piano genres, because Pay Your Way in Pain is so interesting at the beginning, because I swear it goes through like 3 different genres just in the first 30 seconds.
It's got that like swingy jazz intro, doesn't it?
Yeah, I was trying to figure out what that was, because I initially thought it was like a waltz, and then I really listened to it. I was like, no, this doesn't have the this doesn't have the 3/4
that
that a waltz
cha-cha.
would have. Yeah.
That track is like her equivalent of Roses by Outkast. When you think about it, you know, a really prim and proper piano intro that goes into like this dirty, like bass sound.
Yeah, that electro drum drop is is fucking sick. I love that switch. Which is why I initially thought the intro was a waltz. Do you guys have any? I'm going to lean on Jack here. Do you know what type of piano that is? Because it must be like some kind of jazzy piano. It sounds like
can't
jazz
remember
influence.
it off the top of my head, and if I play it, it'll come through the stream. But no. I mean, if it's a live piano, then it would probably have a bigger sound than I remember it doing. And given how electronically capable she is, I wouldn't be surprised if it's VSTs of a piano sound just played through like
VST.
MIDI. So like a computer instrument,
like a synth.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It's quite.
You go.
I just meant the style of music that it is. Like, is it just jazz or is it polka? Because it's got that sort of feel to it.
I'm remembering it as like a kind of swing
because it's not free fall.
No,
like it's got a bit of in my head. I might listen back to it and be completely wrong, but in my head it's got a bit of the like, you know, the Sinatra era style kind of like. It's not jazz. It's like super reduced jazz until it's palatable for the mainstream and it became swing. Like
exactly. It sounds like something that would be played in like a gin joint in the Prohibition era or something.
Yeah.
But it's so cool that
so she could travel back to the 930s, go to a speakeasy and play the shit and blow everyone's mind. There'd be something to tie it back, kind of.
Yeah,
that's
for real. Yeah, if you go from that jazzy intro to that electro drop in the 1930s, people would be losing their shit.
All right, let's move it along and highlight some of our top tracks. So again, I'll chuck it over to Dennis.
Yeah.
What were the 3 tracks you liked the most and why?
Okay, Down and Out Downtown was my top track, and just because I fucking love trip hop, I love that. I love that sort of.
Yeah, it does have a trip hoppy vibe.
Yeah, that
sounds so Portishead.
I literally went back to listen to Rhodes by Portishead after that because I was like, this is trip hop, isn't it? And I listened to the album and I was the album with Rhodes on it, and I was like, yeah, this is definitely trip hop. Again, so many different genres. We haven't even mentioned gospel. Those backing vocals to me, they have a bit of a gospel sound to them, which, my second favorite track, Pay Your Way in Pain. I think the chorus sounds a bit gospely, which is super cool. And this is something I wanted to bring up. Again, going back to the different genres, Somebody Like Me has is it Somebody Like Me? Yeah, has like these really cool chilled out drums. The drums kick in right after the intro, and it sounds like an amen break. It sounds like that.
Yeah.
Does that technically make that drum and bass then? Did she squeeze drum and bass into this album as well?
I think that's a stretch. That's the most used drum beat in all history. Yeah.
It is a stretch. All right. We will give that to her, but I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, doubt you're going to hear that at a messy night at some rave. Just like, technically, listen to the break, man. The DJ trying to push it. Okay, was that your third favorite? Somebody Like Me.
Somebody Like Me. Yeah.
Okay, that's an interesting selection. Jack, what about you?
I think it's weird because we usually, like, when we have different choices, we're like, oh, this was such a good album because like we could all pull different things that we liked from it. But I liked Pay Your Way in Pain as well. That's probably my favorite. Down, just Down, not Down and Out.
Downtown.
Confused me trying to figure those two out.
Definitely the better one of the two, to be honest. Down and Out was not a heavy hitter after multiple listens for me. Got a bit too kind of that lackadaisical stuff, but yeah, like Down, we've spoken about it already. Yeah, just amazing song. And Somebody Like Me, like Dennis, because yeah, it's got that different vibe. I thought it was a bit of a change in vibe, but it was also a bit of a change in the character of the lyrics. Like, it was a much stronger character in that song in terms of like their like presence and their kind of willingness. It was like something that annoys me. I hate hearing pity songs, and like when I go and taking it back to literature, because you're doing before, I hate characters that are like, I hate weak characters in books. It like I hate all the Bronte sisters stuff, because like there's always a bloke who's just a complete wet rag and absolutely useless. And some of the tracks on this album, the character in it is a bit like not much of a backbone, not much of a like impetus, not much of driving themselves forward. But yeah, this was a bit different, but it was also like not too much of that. It wasn't arrogant at all. It was a nice like pairing of being sensitive and open and like aware of that sort of stuff, but also backing themselves, which was a bit of a standout track amongst the other stuff on the album.
Jack likes it when you stick up for yourselves. That's the message of how to make some good lyrical content. Yeah, so it's interesting. I think this is probably going to be one of the most uniform top tracks shared between us, because I got Pave Your Boy in Pain as well. Great way to start an album. Probably like the most like Prince-like track, which I fucking loved. My other favorite was Down and Out Downtown, like you, Dennis. I love the stripped back instrumentation with like the Fender Rhodes piano, which is like my favorite like keyboard sound typically in music. And like I said, now that you kind of made me re-recognize it has those trip hoppy influences, I think I like it even more just giving it a quick listen then. And then yeah, Down, the other Down track was my other favorite, probably my favorite of the whole album. Super passionate vocal delivery performance, and it was cool guitar solo on that about halfway through with a cheeky bit of the old wah. That was just cool. So one thing I'm quite surprised none of you picked Live in the Dream, the one that was very Pink Floydy, because that seemed to be like the most epic kind of centerpiece of the album. It wasn't necessarily one of my favorites, but I thought one of you guys would pick it just for it being pretty epic.
That definitely took multiple listens for me. What you can say,
but yeah, I'd say the same thing. Like the top three that I picked really just depends on the day of the week, because on a different listen through, I'll pick different tracks that I like for different reasons.
That's what you want in an album. A sleeper as well, I think, is At the Holiday Party. I love that one. So like folksy, and again just minimalist, but so like beautifully crafted song.
Yeah, so. I think there's some horns in there at some point as well, which just blew me away.
That was one where the character might put me off. But then I don't know now, because you guys have made me doubt myself. I don't know if I've just read into it too much and I've like created this own narrative that I've
misinterpreted it, maybe.
Yeah, I need to go back and listen.
Well, you didn't know about the backstory of her.
About Dad? No.
You didn't know about the backstory of her dad, right? So that that might shine a new light on your lyrical interpretation. Cool. Okay, let's get into our rankings.
Well, I guess you don't need to ask me twice. This is easily a mind-blown album.
Oh, wow. I was not expecting that. Is that the first mind-blown you've given?
I don't think so. I've given some high-fire, low mind-blowns, I think.
Okay, because Jack, I know the you must agree, right? The thing is with Dennis is he usually pops an album in Mind Blown and then works his way down.
I was going to say Dennis's
over the course of the week that we have.
first reactions to being asked to score an album on the tier list are just the most extreme reaction. You're the calmest motherfucker ever. All episode, you're like, yeah, I just thought, it was nice, I just listened to it. It was good music. Yeah, it was cool. And then we get to the bit at the end, and you're like, this was trash. Or you're like, this blew my mind. I'll never listen to music again. They're like, every time we get here, it's insane.
Okay. I'm very happy you enjoyed it to that degree, Dennis. As speaking as a long-term fan, so I would assume you're going to go to the back catalogue now and spend some time.
And what? Pick out other Mind Blown. I think the only other Mind Blown.
No. I mean, go to her back catalogue.
Oh, yeah.
As a result of enjoying this so much.
No, 100% for sure.
Sick.
Yeah. No. Well, cheers for turning me on to it. Yeah, really enjoyed it.
I'm glad. Okay, let's swing the other way. Go into Jack.
This was trash. No, I'm kidding. I was
trying to balance the rankings.
Yeah.
Tactical.
I mean, when it's good, this is fire. When it's not, it's a backpat. There's never a ribbon. Let's be honest. Like, even the bits I didn't like were too good for that. It's definitely not a Mind Blown album for me. Consistency's was the problem with Brockhampton as well, I think. In terms of like a consistently pushing the boundary level of quality, but this is much more highs and lows for me. I don't know. I'm happy to be swung. For the sake of balancing Dennis's vote, I'm going to land backpat at the moment because I really don't think it deserves Mind Blown or Goat. So I'm happy to be pulled up a little bit, but not that far.
I didn't know it would get to this where we'd be tactically voting as opposed to representing our true beliefs.
I know. I think this is at least a level of LW, right?
Yeah, Jack, really, gun to the head, you're going to say this is a backpat album.
It's a backpat.
Say if I came to you first and you didn't know that.
But it's like it's split for me, isn't it? It's split. Like,
okay.
if I'm picking the songs that I like, it's a fire album.
Yeah.
But then do I ignore the other half of the album I don't like? But if I'm picking the other half album I don't like, it's not trash, but it's not like good stuff. I won't come back and listen to it.
Okay.
If you give me, tell you what, if you give me Pain, Living the Dream, Melting, Down, Somebody, you give me that as a 5-track EP, this could be pushing Mind Blown from Fire.
Okay.
The other 6 tracks are like somewhere in between backpat, around there.
Okay.
Wow.
All right. Okay. All right. So long as you show your reasoning, I'm like a maths teacher.
Show my working. Yeah. How did you get your answer?
Exactly. Cool. Okay. So I'm not going to be tactical. I have this ranking solidified in my head, but it is going to put us in the middle. For me, this is a fire. I was edging near where you were, Dennis, just because of how much I enjoyed it originally. But comparing it to the knowledge I have of her previous work, she's got 2 to 3 other albums that I'd probably put above this. So I can't technically say this is like her best work. So it's a fire. I really enjoyed it, but it wasn't perfect or wasn't that upper echelon for me.
What about for the year? So if we're in December, looking back, putting together our year-end top 10 list, is this going to be on it though?
It might be because
there's got to be a lot of good shit to come out to knock this.
For me so far, the strongest bit about this album, ignoring like the individual songs, is the fact it's growing on me. So like in 6 months' time, maybe it's grown on me even more, and I'm like comfortably in fire, you know? Because I think it's complex music. It's got a lot going for it, but it's just like it's got so many layers to unpeel. It's like an onion. You're like.
The question is, will you do it the service of giving it those other listens to see if it warms?
Maybe. This is my best experience with St. Vincent so far. I think you've tried twice before to get me to listen. This has been the best one I've heard in terms of like getting to like it. But I think that's also because I had to listen to it multiple times for this. So
yeah.
I don't know, maybe.
Okay. Well, so that's I think that's a democratic fire then. Don't think anyone's going to be unhappy with that. Cool. Yeah. I mean that's it. So Daddy's home. Have you guys got anything else to say?
Fight me in the comments.
Great alternative album. Say again.
I was inviting
yeah,
people to fight me. Always, every week. We'll make it a weekly event now.
I will rally the St. Vincent fan base against you and your derogatory comments.
What do you call yourselves?
All right.
The Vincentites.
The Vincentians.
Saintinos.
yeah. The Annie Clarks, actually. Right, okay. So, yeah, let's wrap this up. So, yeah, if you're still here, like I said, leave a comment, tell us what you think. Remember to like the video and subscribe to our channel. We do videos every week. So, yeah, that's it. Peace.
Peace.
Later.